Here's what you should know about your local housing market in this week's market update. I've been having a lot of conversations recently about cost versus market value. And if you're buying or selling a home or thinking of doing a renovation or making a move, it is very important that you understand the difference between the two. Just because a renovation or addition to your home costs a certain amount does not mean that it increases the value of your home by an equal amount. For example, if you spend $150,000 renovating your kitchen, that does not automatically mean that your home's value is increased by $150,000. Certain renovations you may get a greater than 100%, meaning if you spend $150,000 on the renovation, your home's value may increase by $200,000. However, most home renovations actually have a less than 100% return on investment, meaning in many cases, if you spend $150,000 renovating your kitchen, you might only increase the value of your home by $100,000, $120,000. So if you're thinking of doing a renovation or addition, it's definitely a good idea to consult with a real estate professional such as myself to understand what effect that will have on your market value and understand where you are in the life cycle of that home. If you plan on being in that home for a lot longer, then fine. It's not really that big of a deal. You're going to get the enjoyment out of it, and that's the primary purpose. However, if you think you might be moving in the near future, or at least want to be cognizant of that, you might want to reconsider. And in many cases, I see homeowners considering an addition, and once they find out what that cost will be, they realize, you know what, it's much more economical to move to a house that has those features they're trying to add, rather than spend the money on their current home to add those features. On top of that, it's important to understand what your options are out there in the marketplace. Too often, both on the buy and the sell side, I see clients trying to compare their situation to an ideal. So for example, my neighbor sold their house for this much, or there was an offer for this. We had 5 offers. We had the highest offer for this much, but that person pulled their offer. Well, it's important to understand it doesn't matter what your neighbor sold their house for or what offer you might have had that now is no longer on the table. It's important for you to compare the options that you have in front of you rather than an ideal that likely does not exist. And same goes with a home buyer. When you're looking at homes and you're making offers and you're trying to decide which home is right for you, there likely will be no such thing as a perfect home. So it's important as a buyer to understand what types of homes are in the area and within your budget. So especially in a limited market where you don't have a lot of inventory, but even when you have a lot of inventory, I've seen plenty of buyers turning down plenty of houses because they don't meet every single piece of their criteria, when I myself as the local professional understand that everything they're looking for likely does not exist in a home in this area, and they will have to find something as close as possible and either make compromises or add to that home to make it exactly what they're looking for. So if you're thinking of doing an addition or thinking of moving, you should definitely chat with me so we can have further conversations about cost versus value and what scenario makes the most sense for you. Now, that being said, let's get into the stats this week and see what's happening in Morristown, Chatham, Madison, Harding, Mars Plains, Mendham, Chester, Bernardsville, Basking Ridge, and Randolph. Okay, so new homes. We saw 64 homes come on the market this past week in those towns. Basking Ridge has the highest number of new listings with 14, and in second place we have Morristown and Chatham with 12 and 11 respectively. This is a 28% increase in new listings over prior week's new listings. Out of these new homes that came on the market, 49 of those were single-family houses and 15 of them are condos or townhouses. The average list price was $1,108,000, and the town with the highest average list price was Chatham with $1,692,000, and then second place being Mendham with $1,489,000. Total inventory. There are currently 225 homes actively on the market in these towns. That is a 15% decrease over last week. So that means there are less homes available for sale this week than there were last week. The town with the highest number of active inventory, 45 homes on the market in Morristown and Morris Township. And then in second place, we have Mendham with 40 homes currently on the market. And with the lowest number of inventory, we have Basking Ridge with only 3 homes on the market, which is very surprising because we had the highest number of new listings. So homes are coming on the market and then selling pretty quickly. Sold homes. Within these towns, we saw 25 homes sell this past week. That is a 17% decrease over last week. The highest number of sales this past week were in Randolph with 8 homes. We saw 3 towns with no homes sold this past week. That is Madison, Harding, and Bernardsville. Average list price of homes sold in these towns this past week was $1,270,000. Average sale price was $1,310,000. Mendham had the highest average sale price this past week with $3,060,000. And the average list to sale ratio this past week, homes sold on average for 5% above list price. Now that varied from town to town. Mendham actually saw homes sell for an average of 2.4% below list price. That is the only town that saw homes sell below list price. Otherwise, every other town with sales this past week saw homes sell above list price, ranging from 3.1% above list price in Morristown and Morris Township up to 17.5% above list price in Chatham. Days on market. The homes sold were on market for an average of 16 days. That is a decrease from the prior week, so homes are selling faster. And then under contract homes, we have 46 homes under contract this past week. Average list price of those homes was $957,000, and the median days on market for those homes that went under contract this past week were 16 days on the market. So the market is still going strong. While it does seem to be that the buyer activity has quieted down a little bit, the inventory remains low. Buyers, you do have more options, but still be prepared to compete for those homes. So thanks for checking in with me. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys again next week.